We're here live on KHOU.com to bring you breaking news. Deputies have shot a possible shooter at Houston's Lakewood Church. Let's take a live look at the scene now. This video you're about to see is a camera shot from Timmons Lane, right next to the church. You can see there a very heavy police presence along with several ambulances. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez tells us this is all preliminary and it's a very active and dynamic situation. Houston police only telling us so far they're responding to reports of a shooting, but that they're asking the public to stay away from this area. It's unclear whether there have been any injuries to the public or law enforcement at this point. You can see sort of a defensive posture there by law enforcement and first responders. Let's take another live look from a different camera. We have a TransStar camera to show you. In that camera, you can see the police activity also in the distance. That's on the Southwest Feeder Road. You see it there between Edlow and Westlake. And Lakewood Church, of course, this mega church known across the country, led by Pastor Joel Osteen. We're hearing some limited info from Lakewood Church this afternoon as this develops. They tell us the English language service had just ended at 12:45 this afternoon. Those people had already departed the church, and there were folks arriving for a Spanish service that usually begins around 2 p.m. The people that were there for that service are staying put in the building as of now. Now, I can tell you our Grace White, our consumer investigative reporter, was actually driving through that scene, just happened to be driving by, saw a lot of that activity earlier this afternoon. As I was coming into work, Grace, I saw lots of police vehicles also rushing past me along 610. Tell us where you are and what you saw.
Yeah, we did too, Marcelino. So I'm with my family, my husband and my kids, doing what most people do on Sundays, spend time with family and go see relatives. We were in town visiting family off of the Shepherd, in the Shepherd area, and so we were getting on 59 to head back south, head back home, and we saw a lot of police presence, dozens of officers, some whizzing past us. The traffic on 59 was kind of bumper to bumper there as we passed Lakewood Church, and we were able to kind of look out our window and see hundreds of people out there. It's interesting. I heard you say, Marcelino, that some people are still being held inside of the church building there, but we saw hundreds of people outside. I don't know if those were people that had been, in some other part of the church building and facility and had been evacuated out, but we see a large number of people there just on the street. And we also saw some law enforcement kind of suiting up to go inside.
I don't know if you're still in the area or you have an eye on what's happening, but can you give us an idea of just how many just the type of law enforcement presence you saw? Give us a ballpark as to vehicles actually responding to this scene. From the live pic I'm looking at, it seems like a pretty heavy police response.
Yeah, I can tell you, Marcelino, there were law enforcement on both sides of the church. So again, we were coming from the downtown area and then headed south. And so as we passed, we could see a consistent law enforcement presence on both sides of the church from 59. I would say dozens of officers from lots of different agencies. And I have talked to law enforcement sources who confirmed they are responding.
Did you get a look at sort of the posture of law enforcement as you were driving by? I'm looking at live pictures now. You can tell a lot by their body language, whether they're carrying the guns in a certain manner. It seems like maybe the situation seems to be under control based on what I'm seeing and their posture and how they're responding. But I'm curious, did you get a look or sense as to what it looked like when you drove by?
It definitely looked like an active scene. We also saw EMS and ambulances stationed there outside. There were some law enforcement kind of on the outer perimeter that were talking to some of these groups and crowds of people that looked like they were waiting for word or kind of waiting to see what was going on. And then as we kind of got closer to the church, there were just, back to back law enforcement vehicles lined up on the feeder road, trying to obviously control traffic in front of the church. And we also saw some people putting on vests, and of course, they're law enforcement, right? They're carrying their weapons. So.
Any impacts that you noticed on traffic? The view I'm looking at traffic seems to be moving normally on 59, but did you notice any impacts on traffic? Obviously, Houston police warning and urging folks to stay away from this active scene.
Yeah, it was really just right there, maybe a minute or two before we passed the actual church, that it was kind of bumper to bumper. But certainly once we got past Lakewood, traffic returned to normal, so it was just a few minutes of a delay.
All right, Grace White. Thank you so much. Hang with us here for a second. Let's sort of reset the scene. What we know, if you're joining us online right now, we do have reports of a shooter that has been shot at Lakewood Church. That coming from the Harris County Sheriff's Office. This is, we should tell our viewers, a Houston police patrolled zone. This zone usually is in the city of Houston. Houston police are the ones who respond to this scene. The reason Harris County was there, we're told by Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, is he has off-duty deputies that assist with security at the church. You could imagine there's a huge security presence day in and day out at this church, especially on Sundays when so many people come to the services. So we're being told that that is a preliminary and very active investigation, still very dynamic. You can tell by our camera there on the ground. Lots of ambulances there. We don't see any patients being taken to those ambulances. We got to take that as a good sign, but at this point we need to be clear. We've not been told of any victim information, who's been hurt, if anyone has been hurt, but you could tell by the response, law enforcement and first responders responding as if there may be that possibility. We're told by Sheriff Ed Gonzalez via Twitter, who he tells us he's on his way to the scene. He also telling us at this hour that the shooter was taken down. He's telling us that was by one of his own off-duty deputies who was at that church. Again, Houston police are the ones who will take the lead on this investigation. This is their area, and what they're telling us at this hour simply that this was a shooter that they were responding to at Lakewood Church, and that they're urging the community to obviously stay away from this area, if at all possible. Let them do their work. As Grace mentioned, who was driving by, multi-agency response, as these things tend to be. We see Harris County law enforcement out there. We see Houston police vehicles. I saw several other agencies driving past me. I come into work from Cypress just to give you a scale of this response, and along 290 near Beltway 8, that's when I first started seeing vehicles, Harris County Sheriff's Office vehicles, just zooming past me heading towards the city. And that only became more frequent as I got closer into the loop and obviously closer to the church. We are learning also limited basic information from Lakewood Church. At this hour, they tell us the English language service had ended at 12:45. It's a busy Sunday. A lot of folks. This is a mega church. It used to be the Summit. For those longtime Houstonians who knew this before, it was Lakewood Church. It fits tens of thousands of people into that auditorium, into that church setting. They had the English language service that had ended at 12:45. Those people were told by Lakewood Church officials had already left the facility. And there were folks at the time when this shooting happened that were arriving for the Spanish language services that typically begin at 2 o'clock. For now, this is according to the church, they are staying put in the building. Do we still have Grace White with us, guys?
Sorry, Marcelino, were you talking to me? Say that one more
Yes,
time.
I just wanted to be sure you were still with us, Grace. Grace, for our viewers that are just joining us, you were sort of our first eyeballs on the scene as this was all unfolding. Walk us through again what you saw when you just happened to be driving by. You're not working today.
Yeah, Marcelino, it was. I mean, we started to see law enforcement cars kind of whiz by us, and with my family, my husband and my kids were visiting family today on Sunday, and we were leaving a relative's house and headed back home to Sugar Land and saw the law enforcement presence and the traffic start to kind of build up on Highway 59. And we had a clear shot of Lakewood Church as we just kind of, were in that traffic kind of going southbound on 59, and we could see dozens of law enforcement cars and groups of people. I mean, there's a lot of people that were out there. I don't know if they were people that came from the church or nearby businesses or parking lots, but there's a lot of people right now waiting outside of Lakewood Church, sort of in groups. Some are talking to law enforcement officers. Others seem to be grouped together on the sidewalk, on cell phones, and just a lot of people out there right now and a lot of law enforcement presence.
You and I have both covered these types of scenes in the past. We usually are one of the first on scene when these things happen. Could you give us a sense from your vantage point? You mentioned there were lots of people outside on their phones. Did you get a sense of their demeanor in terms of how they were feeling? A lot of times, as we can understand, these are very anxious situations for folks who either live through it or people who may know people at Lakewood Church concerned for their safety and well-being of their loved ones. I know on my way into work today, I was getting several texts from folks who wanted updates because they know someone who happens to be at that church. Can you give us a sense of what you saw from your quick vantage point?
Absolutely, Marcelino, and you're right. I think when these things happen, no matter what scale they happen at, they impact so many people, right? The people who were there, the first responders who respond to these types of situations, and also the friends and family that are connected to either someone who was there this morning or the church itself, right? So there's so many people that are impacted by these tragedies, and certainly we don't have all the information yet. We're still waiting for Houston police to make an official statement. But as we drove by, it seems like people were also kind of on the outer perimeters waiting for information, waiting to either be cleared or for somebody to pick them up. People did seem calm on the outer perimeters, but once you got closer to the church, certainly the law enforcement cars were really back to back to back. We saw some law enforcement officers actually suiting up with equipment, obviously to go, closer into the scene. I don't have any details. Again, I was just on 59 in my family's car, so what I saw was just from the highway. Sure. But you could definitely tell closer to the church that there was a lot of police activity. And I have spoken to law enforcement sources who confirmed there's a big presence out there. They are responding to, the reports of the shooting.
As you were driving by, I'm curious, Grace, you saw law enforcement and first responders heading towards the scene. Did you happen to see any ambulances heading in the opposite direction at all, or was it just towards the scene?
No movement. I didn't see any movement of ambulances or EMS. The ambulances that we did see were stationary. They were on the feeder. They looked like they were staging, but I certainly didn't see any signs of, victims being transported.
All right, Grace White, stick with us while we update our viewers on the latest that we're learning. What is probably on a lot of folks' minds right now is if you know someone at this church, you're wondering how safe they are, what their current situation is, if there's any injuries. It's obviously a concern for folks watching us online. We are trying to get that information, but again, at this point, law enforcement not confirming whether there are any injuries to the public or injuries to law enforcement. We do have our Matt Doherty now live on the scene outside Lakewood Church. Matt, what can you see from your vantage point, and what are you learning from talking to your sources?
It's on Westland. It's on Westland, just near Richmond. You see some of these police officers have blocked down the street. We're about as close as we can get right now. So what I've understood from the officer that I spoke with, so they're looking for a man who's on the loose right now. You can hear some of these helicopters flying overhead. Apparently there was a shooting at Lakewood Church earlier today. We don't know what time exactly, but one person, he said, is dead. Could be a second person injured, but we don't know the status of that person. But we do know that there is a shooter on the loose. The shooter apparently has a long rifle, so it should be easy to spot. Part of Houston that we're talking about right now is off the Southwest Freeway, off of Richmond. And what I'm being told by the officers is that they believe he fled into some of the restaurants that are just west of Lakewood Church. So that's where we're standing right now. Don't know why they've surrounded the movie theater, though. We don't know if he's inside. He hasn't told me that they think he's inside, but that's where we're at right now. So if you're taking a look down the road.
All right, Matt Doherty, thanks so much. We'll cut in here. A lot of unconfirmed information coming in at this point, as it tends to happen in these types of situations. We are working to confirm what we can at this point, but as our viewers know, anytime these situations happen, they are fluid, they are dynamic. Law enforcement first wanting to control the scene before they provide updates to the public, and obviously want to get to the public that may need help if there have been any injuries in this case. From Matt's vantage point there, he was mentioning he's on the side of the movie theater off of Westland, I believe. I see police vehicles there, far fewer than we saw on the Timmins Lane shot. That is much closer to the church. I was just checking Twitter a moment ago. Houston police sending out another tweet telling us that this is still describing it as an active scene. And they say traffic is very heavy near and on the service road. They're asking folks to avoid the area and use alternate routes whenever possible. We have crews flooding to that scene right now. Jason Miles is on the ground there as well. Jason, what can you tell us that you are seeing from your vantage point?
Hey Marcelino, I happened to be on a Sunday afternoon walk and run when I got news of this. I live not far from here, so made my way over quickly across Greenway Plaza. Ended up in a Lifetime Fitness that's adjacent to Lakewood Church, their parking garage, and had a very good vantage point of the front door, the west side, the main entrance of Lakewood Church. Saw tactical officers, dozens of uniformed officers gathering near the entrance to Lakewood. Meantime, Timmins, the street you're looking at right now, blocked by police as we speak between 59 and Richmond. This is kind of the staging area, at least in this vicinity of the church. And again, we are just 100 or so yards from the main entrance of Lakewood, that the entrance you see with all the flags from the Southwest Freeway. I did see some what appeared to be crime scene or police tape just inside the entrance to the church. And again, there were uniformed officers and tactical officers with long weapons making their way inside the church. At one point, something happened and prompted some of the uniformed officers to kind of hastily make their way back to Timmins, including Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen, who I happened to pick out of the crowd there. But again, a very active scene, emergency vehicles, ambulances, fire engines, and lots of law enforcement from multiple agencies here in the area of Lakewood Church. And I mentioned to someone on the phone just a minute ago, a young man who was in the parking garage with me was heading into Lakewood Church, he says. When he arrived, bunches of people were running out. And from what he described from a video, a Spanish language video of the church service this morning, there were loud noises viewable in that video. Now, that video has since been removed from YouTube. We're still trying to get a look at that and see what that was all about. But according to that young man and congregate of Lakewood Church, that happened during this morning's service. Again, nothing confirmed here on the scene. We are still awaiting a lot of information and details from Houston police, but obviously their priority right now is getting to the bottom of this and getting it resolved as soon as possible. Guys.
Jason, I'm curious, are there people milling around you that you've been able to talk to other than that person who was in the church? Are there people who may have been in the service or who are out there maybe wondering about what's happening inside or their loved one's status inside?
They are being ushered away from this area as quickly as possible. In fact, a lady and her family came out just a few moments ago. She was speaking Spanish and having a hard time communicating with the particular officer who was right there at where she was, but he hastily removed her from this area, told her to head toward Richmond Avenue. Meantime, up on Greenway Plaza, the elevated platform, if you will, where the office buildings and so forth are, above the parking garages, that elevated area, I did encounter some folks who were just waiting and wondering what was happening. Several of them told me they were heading into the service when they got word to turn around and head away and clear themselves of the area as much as possible. Have yet to meet anyone who was actually inside the service when whatever happened.
And Jason, talk to me a little bit about the law enforcement posture. I was talking to Grace, who was driving by earlier this afternoon. You can get a sense as to what the response may be like when you see the posture of law enforcement officers. Since you've been on the ground, have you noticed a change in their posture at all?
Not necessarily a change. You know, this type of situation, they're on a heightened alert. And heading over there, the couple of blocks I had to head from where I live, there were many officers coming in their squad cars, lights blaring, people trying to get out of the way for them. So, yes, sir. Widening the perimeter. Okay. Right over here. Got it. You may have just heard they're widening the perimeter here, so we're going to head to Richmond, the next block. So give us a few minutes and we'll check back in, if you will.
Sure. Jason, thanks so much. You do what you need to do. Jason mentioning there he'd spoken to someone who was watching video of that church, and where we think they possibly heard some gunshots. We're still waiting to get our hands on that video. That video has been removed. Jason, it's important to mention when he mentioned that this was an English language service that had ended at 12:45. The people there had already departed at Lakewood Church. They have multiple services throughout Sunday, and folks were arriving for a Spanish service that starts at 2. That's the video that we are hoping to get our hands on to see if we hear what actually happened inside. And we're told by Lakewood Church officials, preliminary information again, that the folks that had arrived at that 2 p.m. service were being forced to stay in the building as this all unfolded. Matt Doherty is back with us now. Matt, you are also at the scene. I believe you're near the movie theater off of Westland. Correct me if I'm wrong, but walk us through where you're at and what you're seeing.
Yeah, that's right. If you know this area, you know exactly where I'm talking about. It's the Richmond and Westland. It's right across from the Costco. If you use this Costco, this is the place where we're at. Take a look over there. So you can see that open door to the movie theater. About 5 minutes ago, we saw some officers walking into the theater. We don't know if the suspect is inside of that movie theater right now. I was told by an officer that he is west of the Lakewood Church. They said he was over here toward some of the restaurants in here, and that's who they're looking for. They're just blocking off this street right now. They're not allowing any cars to go through on either side. You can see they have it blocked up from the Southwest Freeway over there all the way up here to Richmond. That's this block of Westland, 2 blocks of Westland, I would say. And you see some people coming out of the movie theater right there. Don't know if they know what's going on or not, but anyway, the police officers tell me that they're looking for somebody with a long rifle. That's just one officer who's telling me that. I don't know if these people coming out of the movie theater right now have been evacuated or their movie just ended, but what we do know is that nobody's allowed to go inside, nobody's allowed to come out. We are about as close as you can get right now.
Matt, I'm curious, have you seen officers go into the movie theater? Have you visually seen that yourself?
Yeah, you can see that over there. Can you take a tight shot of that, Ryan, of those officers going inside? Hey, let me ask you guys, did they evacuate your movie theater? Or
No, we were in lockdown and they just let us go.
So they were in lockdown at your movie?
Yeah.
Like stuck in the movie theater, and like I saw like on my group text, like my phone was dead, but somebody texted me and they were like, "There's a shootout at Lakewood Church," and like there was cop cars. So I was like, okay. So we started like telling people around the movie theater that like there was a shooter around. So like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, yeah, we were just there and we didn't know if we wanted to stay in the theater because there's a lot of different movies there and it'd be easier to hide. But there's also a lot of people there, so we didn't know if they would want to come in. And there's a SWAT.
Yeah, we got SWAT trucks coming in. You see this, Ryan? We got a SWAT truck coming in right now. All right, you guys be safe, okay?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, back to you guys.
All right, Matt Doherty, thanks so much. Joined now at the desk by Ron Trevino.
Yeah, and we have the latest tweet, or I don't know what you want to call it, from X now, formerly Twitter, from Houston Police saying that the active scene is at Lakewood Church on the Southwest Freeway Service Road. Traffic is very heavy near and on the service road. Please avoid that area. As Matt was live outside the movie theater there, that's a pretty big parking lot as well. It's several floors, so if they are indeed still searching for the shooter, they have several floors to look through, and they're looking under cars or looking in cars, aside from actually going inside the theater and all those restaurants nearby.
Yeah, definitely a lot of places to hide if they are indeed looking for a second shooter. What we know officially at this point, confirmed, if we want to sort of set the scene again for those just joining us online, the Sheriff's Department, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Ed Gonzalez saying an off-duty deputy who was working at the church has shot a shooter at Lakewood Church. That shooter is down. No confirmed reports officially from HPD about whether there is a second shooter. Matt Doherty saying he's speaking to officers there on the ground, saying they are conducting a search. But Ron, as you know, these situations are active and fluid, and information can change as the minutes go by.
Yeah, and the latest tweet from Ed Gonzalez was, "Info remains preliminary as things remain dynamic. It is believed that a possible shooter is down, shot by one of our deputies on scene," saying, "I'm en route to the scene." That's the latest from the sheriff, but that was 45 minutes ago. We still have a lot of questions, obviously.
Yes, and we are now told Jason Miles has moved. He was talking to an officer, you saw that live, who asked them to push back. They were sort of broadening out the cordon tape. And so, Jason, tell us what you're seeing where you are now.
Yeah, they broadened the area they're securing, if you will. We're at Richmond and Timmons right now. If you're familiar with the restaurant Tony's, the famous Houston restaurant, I'm right next to it as we speak. So this is looking south on Timmons. You see the police presence still very heavy. And I just spoke with some folks. Fortunately, my photographer, Cesar, speaks Spanish, and he was speaking with some folks who attended the service where whatever happened. And they say they did hear some noises and were told to immediately clear the church. They say it was loud. They don't know if it was gunshots or not, but certainly sounded as if it could have been. Meantime, I spoke with another young lady who attended the 11 o'clock service this morning. everything went off without a hitch as usual. She left the church and reported to work later in the day, but she understands, and as I referenced earlier, that this incident happened during the Spanish-speaking service, the Spanish service this morning at Lakewood Church. And I did mention some video that I saw. A young man showed me from YouTube the live stream that was recorded this morning of that Spanish service, and you could definitely hear something in the background enough to get the presenter's attention. He looked behind him several times, and that's when that young man says everyone was told to leave. So obviously we're still trying to confirm exactly what happened, but certainly enough to cause some panic inside Lakewood Church today, and resulting a heavy police response as we continue to cover this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jason. And Lakewood Church on Twitter saying there is an active situation involving shots fired at Lakewood. Law enforcement is on the scene. That is all the information we have at this time. Please pray for Lakewood and our community. So that's a tweet from Lakewood Church about 15 minutes ago.
And Ron, you and I, of course, are both familiar with Lakewood Church, this mega church, basically a large stadium. Used to be the Summit many moons ago. It's the type of place where if law enforcement is moving in there to search for a shooter after something like this, or to respond to something like this, I mean, it takes time to clear. I mean, this is a massive facility.
It's a massive church with a worldwide following, so we're hoping everything is over. But as soon as we get information, the latest information, we're just passing it along to you as we speak. Yeah,
and the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the information we're getting from them is from Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, but we should reiterate the people in charge of this scene is Houston Police. This is a Houston Police Department scene, a Houston Police investigation, and the information we're getting from them at this point pretty limited, only confirming they're responding to a shooting and urging the public to stay away from the area if at all possible. And at this point, we have no confirmation of any injuries to the public or to law enforcement, but as we know, Ron, these situations do evolve. Yeah, that's the best advice, to stay out of that area around Lakewood Church and 59 and Timmins and that whole area there, and that's probably a challenge for police as well, because the area is so vast, the church is so vast, there are so many restaurants and shops nearby. Yeah, for sure. It's one of the most highly trafficked parts in the city, I would argue. You got 59 on one side, and then a busy corridor, Richmond and West Lane on the other. Jason, you're on the ground there. Tell us more about your vantage point. And I'm curious, from the folks you talked to who were actually in the church, did they actually witness anyone getting hurt or any injuries, or was it they're not even sure whether what they heard were gunshots?
Marcelino, sorry to interrupt. I just want to dip into what this lady is telling us. She was actually in the service, so without further hesitation here.
So that's much. So, and then, everybody goes, but what happened? This is my first time at the church. I'm living in Florida, and my cell was on the floor. So when I was outside, I looking for my phone to call my family. Right. No phone, nobody. So it was no panic, thanks God, but I was in control. I'm waiting, and thanks God the children was inside the rooms with the fathers, so they start to go, slowly by grades. So then when I found it, like an hour or hour and a half after, but everything is on control.
Can you describe again what you heard?
Shots, like a boom, something like that. How you say, like a, yes, like a pistol, something like that.
How many?
Yeah, I hear three shots, like maybe 15, 20 seconds or 30 seconds between one or the other one. But I was inside because the auditorium was empty in those sides. So nobody was, I was looking, maybe there are something inside the auditorium, but no, nobody.
And then they said, evacuate?
They start to, the Ujieres, the people is helping and serving on the church, so they start, everybody was moving. The people start to cry and to run, but I was slowly, quietly, and that's it. Helping people, but,
What time did you hear the shots?
That happened, we went around 1:45, 1:50, yes, 1:50.
So was it right before the Spanish service?
Yes, I came for the Spanish service.
Right.
So they go to go with the children to the children classes. So they, subscribe them into the classes.
There you go, Marcelino, and you guys back at the station. A lady who was in the Spanish service describing hearing what she thinks were gunshots. She's continuing her conversation with a newspaper reporter now, but a scary situation for this family. It's her, perhaps her son, and then grandchildren here enjoying the service at Lakewood. What they thought was going to be an enjoyable service, of course, interrupted today by apparent violence.
Yeah, Jason, just a scary situation that woman described. Ron, she mentioned it was her first time. Visiting Lakewood Church.
She was from Florida, and she was waiting for the Spanish service to start, which starts at 2, and so it was around 1:45, and she said she heard 3 shots. I mean, we've seen in recent years houses of worship not be immune to gun violence in this country. Absolutely.
She also describing that there was about 15 to 20 seconds between each one of those 3 shots she heard. Also saying that when she heard what she thought was gunfire, the auditorium was pretty much empty, and she was looking around to see if she could spot a shooter or spot where this was coming from. But she says she couldn't spot anything, and sort of was instructed to evacuate.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, there's an active scene around Lakewood Church off the Southwest Freeway in Wesleyan and Timmins. Police officers have converged on that area. They may still be looking for a shooter. There was a report from the sheriff office that perhaps maybe one of their deputies may have shot the shooter, but that's still not clear. So they're asking everybody to stay out of this area. And they are searching businesses nearby, the huge theater that's there. We spoke with some children that were watching a movie there, and they described what they went through, but ostensibly the officers could be searching the theaters, the huge parking garage that's attached to it. If you've ever been there, you know it's several levels, and it is vast. So that's the very latest that we have right now.
And Matt Doherty is live on the scene there as well, outside that movie theater that you were mentioning. Ron, Matt, what's the latest from your vantage point of where you are?
Yeah, you talked about that movie theater. I'm going to step out of the way so you can take a look. So it appears that they have evacuated that movie theater. Some of those kids that we talked to earlier, they said that they put them on lockdown and then made them leave shortly after that. You see these officers are walking around right now. These kids are, out here, I guess, they're too young to drive, it appears, so they're waiting for their parents to come pick them up or whatever. But they have stopped the movies in the movie theater, it sounds like. They've evacuated the movie theater. They've surrounded it. The officer I spoke with earlier didn't say that they suspect that the suspect is inside the movie theater. All that he's telling me is that they believe that he is west of Lakewood Church, somewhere around the restaurants, which is exactly where we are right now. So we're off the intersection of Westland and Richmond. They have the entire, I'd say it's probably 3 blocks, locked down from the Southwest Freeway up to Richmond. If you're familiar with this area, you know where the Costco is. It's Costco I go to and a lot of people go to. So they've got this whole area shut down. It doesn't appear that they're looking for anyone right now, like on the ground where we're at. They did have some officers that went inside, but however, we do have the helicopter flying directly above us. So in my experience in times like that, I mean, the reason they do that is because they believe that there's a suspect in the area, somebody on the ground that they're looking for. But it's continued to circle for, I'd say, about 30 minutes or so since we've been here. Again, you can see some of the people out here just kind of milling around and talking with some of the officers. Some more people have come out here than we saw in the beginning. They appear to be wearing church clothes, as I would describe it. So I don't know if they were actually inside the service at the time. We'll be talking to them in just a little bit.
Matt, have you been able to hear anything from the officers? We know they don't divulge a lot of information at this early stage, but have they said whether this person had a vehicle? I mean, that's right off the freeway. If this person had a vehicle, would seem like it would be an easy getaway.
They didn't say he had a vehicle. Right, yeah, they didn't say if he had a vehicle or not. It was described to me, and this is unconfirmed information, let me remind you this. So it was described to me that the suspect is a man with a long rifle on foot, and that he fled toward the restaurants west of Lakewood Church, which is where we are right now. So that's the only description that we have at this moment.
All right.
All right, Matt Doherty reporting live from nearby Lakewood Church. Len Cannon, along with Mia Gradney, now joining you in studio here at KHOU 11. And if you're just tuning in, this is what we know so far. This afternoon, there was apparently a shooting incident at Lakewood Church, which, as you know, one of the largest mega churches in the country, located on Timmins, right at the Southwest Freeway on the feeder road. According to Lakewood Church, they sent out a tweet 22 minutes ago saying there is an active situation involving shots fired at Lakewood. Law enforcement on the scene. That's all the information that they have. Now, I live nearby, and on the way into the studio, when I was at Drexel and Richmond, there was a police officer, HPD, blocking traffic from going eastbound on Richmond, which is towards the church area where Matt is talking about. I walked up to the officer. I asked him what is going on. He did say there has been a shooting at Lakewood. I asked, was it inside or outside? He could not say, but he said, definitely please move to the sidewalk. We're trying to divert traffic away from the area.
And right now you're taking a live look at Highway 59 because the church sits right there at 59. A big police presence, HPD there on the scene. Of course, we also have Harris County Sheriff's Office deputies there as well. The church employs a lot of those deputies to do security at the church itself. So there is a massive police presence there. We know Timmins between 59 and Richmond is closed, so police can continue to do their work here. There is still so much to be answered, so much to be resolved in this situation. We've been talking with members of the church who were attending church there. We understand the shooting happened at the conclusion of the English-speaking service. Now, Lakewood Church has several different services for its large congregation, and we understand that members tell us they first started hearing those shots shortly at the conclusion of the English-speaking service. That was earlier today, just shortly around lunchtime.
Yes, thank you, Mia. And let's go to Jason Miles. He is near Lakewood Church. Do you have any new information right now, Jason?
No new information, although I did overhear some officers telling some concerned family members where they may be able to reunite with folks who may have been inside the service. It's between, I think she said, Greenway 10 and 11 here along Richmond Avenue, buildings 11 and 10, if you will, in the Greenway Plaza complex. You may have heard just a few moments ago, I spoke with Ms. Martha Cardenas, who was here with her family for the very first time, their first time at a service at Lakewood Church, the Spanish-speaking service. She said at some point during that service, she heard what sounded like a number of gunshots, not necessarily in the auditorium where the church service is held, but perhaps in a corridor or a hallway outside. She said soon after that, people were told to evacuate the auditorium or the sanctuary, if you will, head out to the exits as fast as possible. She said officers seemed to be responding as if you might expect them to respond. As you mentioned a few moments ago, many officers are actually employed by Lakewood to help manage the crowds on Sundays as multiple services are held. So many officers were already on scene when whatever happened. The shooting, the shots rang out, and they were obviously addressing the situation as soon as possible. She said she was very disappointed that something like this happened in a place of worship. And again, it was their first visit to Lakewood, and certainly one they didn't expect to end like this. Meantime, it's a Sunday afternoon, but as you know, it's Houston, so a lot of people making their way across the city on the 59 freeway here on Richmond. Very busy as police direct traffic to in other directions. Richmond, in fact, heading, east on eastbound Richmond at Timmins is closed. People are being diverted to northbound Timmins. So the best advice for people out there who are thinking about heading to Super Bowl parties or whatever, avoid at all costs the Lakewood Church area and vicinity, guys. Certainly,
I can tell you that, Jason, they've even blocked off Drexel at Richmond, which is just east of Wesleyan. So they've stretched that block off even further back. And we're also told, thank you, Jason Miles, we're also told that Houston police are asking that you avoid the area. There's a family reunification center at Lamar High School, which is near Buffalo Speedway and Westheimer. Buses will pick up families at Richmond and Timmins. Now, there's a lot we do not know yet, folks. We know that there was an apparent shooting. What we do not know is if anyone at the church, involved with the church, was hit. We do not know that. We're waiting to get confirmation from investigators.
Jason had mentioned that reunification center. One reason perhaps why that is in play at this time is because the church itself, the people who were already in the church attending a service there, partaking in things, they were asked to stay in place, essentially a shelter in place, just so police could investigate this situation, ensure everyone's safety as well. So there might be some confusion amongst family members there, some who perhaps went to one service, others going to another service, or attending different things in the church who were asked to stay inside the church until all was safe. So we're going to keep following and seeing the situation with that reunification center and the needs by the folks there.
We heard Jason Miles talking to a woman who was visiting the church, she said, for the very first time. She told Jason she heard 3 shots inside the church, but she said at the time, the sanctuary, that large sanctuary at Lakewood, there was nobody inside. So she doesn't know where the shots came from. She said it sounded like a pistol. Then they were told to evacuate. We're also told, according to Matt Doherty, that people at the nearby movie theater, which is right near Lakewood, that movie theater, which is right off of Wesleyan, has been evacuated. That's it right there in the live shot. So folks there have been evacuated. They're trying to keep traffic out of this section because, as you and I know, this is very busy. That section between Richmond and Buffalo Speedway is packed with restaurants, with bars. You have a Costco there. Then you've got the Southwest feeder with all kinds of businesses next to Lakewood Church, not to mention on the other side of 59, there are a lot of businesses. So police have their work cut out for them if in fact they are looking for someone.
All right, our Matt Doherty on the ground there at Lakewood Church. Let's check back in with him. Matt.
Yeah, stepping right out of the frame right now, you can see the movie theater right there. That movie theater was evacuated about 30 minutes ago or so. We spoke with some of the kids who were inside at the time. They're telling us that they put the theater on lockdown. They stopped the movie. They were watching Mean Girls 2. That's what one of the kids told me, and now they're just waiting for their moms to come pick them up. So this is at Richmond and Westland, just like Lynn was saying. It's a very well-known area. If you go to the Costco in town, that's where it is, right across the street. They do have this area surrounded. However, it doesn't look like any of these officers are going back inside. However, we did see some policemen go inside the movie theater a little bit earlier. But this whole area is blocked off. So you can see down the road, that's the Southwest Freeway right there. So that is closed, and it's closed all the way, the 3 blocks down, all the way to Richmond on Westland. So that's, again, right across the street from the Costco station. You can hear the helicopter. Can you see the helicopter, Ryan? Helicopter's continuing to circle right above us, like it has been for, I'd say, at least the last 45 minutes or so, and it's really stayed in this area specifically. I can tell you from previous experience, just reporting, that when the helicopter is circling above you, you know that the suspect is believed to be somewhere on the ground. That's what the officer told me earlier today. He told me that it's a suspect with a long rifle on foot who fled. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so the suspect. Got you. That suspect is on the ground. From what we're hearing, he's on the ground with a long rifle on foot. He fled west of Lakewood Church toward the restaurants, and that's literally where we are right now.
Matt Doherty, thank you for the update. Now, you heard Matt talking about a shooter with a long gun. He mentioned earlier that they were searching west of Wesleyan and the 59 feeder in that area. There are apartment complexes along there. I don't know how far west he's talking about and if that has been nailed down. So there's the possibility of a shooter out there. We do not know. We know shots were fired. We do not know who has been hit, what the injury circumstances are, but we do know, based on past shootings in this country, when you have this active a scene with so many people involved, it takes time for investigators to get all their information and their ducks in a row to let us know exactly what is going on. And until we hear from investigators, we can only go on what witnesses are telling us and information from both the sheriffs and HPD.
Right, exactly. So Sheriff Ed Gonzalez is actually on the scene, although this is not his scene. This, of course, is in the city of Houston. Harris County Sheriff's Harris County Sheriff Office deputies work security there at Lakewood Church, but we are waiting word from HPD to hear an update from them. Obviously, they are very busy investigating this scene. It still remains active. We're waiting for any suspect information as well now. Let's send it back out on now to Jason.
1 second. Hey there, guys. This young lady just came off a vehicle. I guess you were brought over after evacuating the church?
We were escorted during the evacuation by SWAT team, by the police, the local Houston police, and also by the FBI. Okay.
Describe what you saw and or heard.
Well, we were leaving the service, and Joel was meeting and greeting everybody right outside on the second floor where all this happened. And I was one of the last people to meet and greet with Joel, the pastor here. And I went into the ladies' room, and when I came out, I headed towards the nearest exit on the second floor, and I heard this like the bam, bam, like mechanical sounds, like it almost sounded like folding tables were being dismantled and dropped to the floor. And then there was like, but they were erratic, okay? And then there was another set of like bam, bam, bam. And then all of a sudden it sounded, I stopped and I looked at the entrance and people were screaming and scattering. And I went, oh, no, 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 this is not equipment being dismantled. There's something going on. And then I saw a gentleman, I'd say late 20s, early 30s, but I couldn't get a look at his face. But he was like standing like this, and he had, it looked like a pistol because it had a long pipe on it, okay? And it was like, and he was pointing in the, not the opposite direction, but like at an angle to me.
You think he was one of the shooters or the shooter?
It had to have been because there was a gun. There was a gun in his hand, okay?
And he wasn't an officer?
No, 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 no. He was dressed in normal clothes. I couldn't describe it because it happened so fast. I just saw him, you know, near the entrance, and he was standing like this, like almost, you know, the feet apart, and he was like this. I mean, evidently that's where the shots were coming from.
I don't know how long you've attended Lakewood Church, but to have something like this happen
2
here.
weeks. 2 weeks. I just drove here from Los Angeles. I've always wanted to come to this church. But you know what? I've seen enough movies that I knew we weren't supposed to scatter. We needed to go to the nearest kind of cover, you know, like they have big pillars in there. So instead of going straight towards the shooter, I turned around and started running with the rest of the people. But then all of a sudden there were very few people. And then I saw a room off to the side called New Beginnings, okay? And it was an info room I'd been to before, and one person was going through and one door was locked, and I went, oh my God, I've got to get in that room. And then the other person opened it and I followed them in. We hid about 10 of us, 10 adults in a closet, and there was one child in there. And no vent, but we were all praying, and we were thankful that it could have been worse. We could have been a casualty. We could have been shot.
Have you heard anything about anybody who may have been shot?
We just heard that there were 2 shooters. One was a woman and one was a man. I didn't see the woman and I didn't get a good look at the guy, okay? I just know that he was holding a gun in his hand and it was extended and he was pointing it towards the crowd.
Are you willing to share any of your prayer? What did you pray?
Oh, absolutely. We pray, you know, God our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy names. But we also, I'm a prayer warrior, so for me to pray is our greatest weapon that we can use during any type of circumstance or situation or crisis. And people were, there were women in there crying, and I wanted all of us to just feel a sense of peace and protection. Thank God there were 2 huge big wooden slats. We put those across the door. Nobody was freaking out to the point where, you know, they were being physical. And there, yes, emotions ran high, but the prayers, all of a sudden, a peace seemed to come over the room. There was no vent. We're all in there like sardines. And all I can tell you is that, honestly, there was a sense of peace and people were starting to smile.
I have a feeling this won't dissuade you from coming back.
Absolutely not. This is a sign of the end times, and this is happening all over. The people that were standing next to me were from Miami. They just flew in. They had delays on their flights, and they wanted to get here on time, and they were able to make the 11 o'clock service, and this was their first interaction. But they felt the same way. They said in South Miami, it's gotten really bad. People just walking up and shooting people that are sitting at the restaurants in broad daylight. I moved here from Beverly Hills, and I was there when Rodeo Drive, they were people were just breaking in willy-nilly into all the chic boutiques there. And Nordstrom's there in Topanga was broken into in broad daylight, and the staff are just standing there. And the police didn't want to get shot, so they didn't want to intervene. And they were understaffed, so that was understandable. But you know what I'm really impressed about is, look at all the teams of people that, here in Houston, we've got the constables, we've got the local police, Houston Police, we've got the SWAT teams, we've got constables, and we've got sheriffs.
Clearly a great response, and I'm so glad you're okay.
Absolutely.
Chamonix, right?
Cherami?
Cherami.
Yes, yes.
Thanks so much for speaking with us. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad the folks who were in the room with you were okay. And as you heard her describe, they hunkered down in a room, put some slats on the door when they heard gunshots, and she even described seeing a guy with a gun who presumably may have been one of the shooters or the shooter in this situation. Guys.
Such a frightening ordeal. Jason Miles, they're on the ground at Lakewood Church. Let's bring you up to speed in case you are just joining us. We continue to follow breaking news. A shooting at Lakewood Church earlier this afternoon. The English language service at the church had just ended at 12:45. Those people had departed. They were in a transition period at the church. You had the 2 p.m. Spanish language service getting underway when the shots were fired. Multiple shots. That's what we have heard from witnesses thus far this afternoon. This is very much still an ongoing active scene hours later. Please avoid the area. HPD is asking you to take alternate routes around the church. There are street closures there. There are also several people on the ground, church members. There is now a reunification center for those church members who were maybe separated from their family or friends at the church. That is at the Lifetime Fitness right there in the immediate area directly behind Lakewood Church.
That is what we know right now. As I mentioned earlier, we're waiting to hear from investigators to get a sense of exactly what has unfolded in the last 90 minutes or so. There is going to be a staging area with the media, we're told, and this will take place near Richmond and Timmins, which is right down the street from Lakewood Church. Hopefully, when that happens, we haven't been given a time, that's according to Police Chief Troy Finner, then we can get more details. We are hearing a lot of things, that there were 2 shooters, that we know that shots were fired. We don't know how many people were hit. These things always take time for investigators to sort out. We hear that possibly a gunman is down and another person is on the run. None of that has been confirmed. We just know that shots were fired. This is a big, rambling, sprawling area. And as Mia mentioned, this happened in between 2 services. As you know, thousands of people attend this church, so many so that they often block off the frontage road of the Southwest Freeway during those services on Sunday, anytime between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. because it is so busy, so crowded. There's also garage adjoined to the church, and people also sometimes park behind the church in the Lifetime Fitness garage, which is part of the Greenway Center.
Yes, the church very well known, not just here in Houston, but across the nation and around the world. We heard from the one lady from California, from Los Angeles. She said she came to visit the church. She always had wanted to. She's been here for 2 weeks visiting the church, and she's just one of the witnesses we've heard from now who says they saw a shooter, a man with what appeared to be a pistol. And that's something we continue to hear from witnesses there. We are waiting, though, however, on that official word from HPD. We did hear, however, from Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez saying that one shooter is down. So that we do know. Again, this is an HPD scene, and that's why we're waiting to find out more information from them, not just about a possible shooter, not just about suspects, but also about any injuries.
Any victims. So we heard Jason Miles talking to a woman. Mia mentioned the woman just visiting. She's been here 2 weeks from LA. Lakewood is a destination for the faithful. It is also a bit of a tourist attraction because Joel Osteen is so well known, and his wife Victoria, because of their books, because they make presentations all over the country and the world. As we take a look right now at, looks like people with strollers being evacuated from Lakewood Church, I am assuming. But people are coming here all the time. I've had relatives say, well, when I visit you, I want to go to Lakewood. So very well known. He's also on television at least 2 or 3 times a week. We're going to hear a lot of stories unfold here. We've already started to hear them. The woman from LA said she, along with 10 other adults and a child, hid in a closet and prayed until they were evacuated. And she said they prayed the Lord's Prayer. So this is one of the many stories we're going to hear come out of this very tragic situation. We are hoping that there have been no victims in this shooting, but that's a lot of people in one area, and we're waiting to hear exactly what unfolded and what comes next.
You see such a large presence, so many flashing lights. We see HFD there. We know that HPD is there, the Harris County Sheriff's Office as well. And we saw what appeared to be a parade of people here headed north from 59. That's 59 in the far back if you're looking at the shot right now. Chances are those people might be relocated to Lifetime Fitness. That is the reunification center. And Jason Miles has been on the ground there outside Lakewood Church. He's going to bring us more information now. Jason.
Hey there, guys, and just to explain one more time, I'm in a running shirt because I was in the middle of some exercise when I got a call about this happening. I live only a few blocks from here, so I literally walked/ran over here when we heard something was going on. When I got here, there were a lot of people making their way away from the Lakewood Church area. Many of them you may see behind me still making their way from the church. I understand there was some sort of maybe a place where folks were gathering, folks who were evacuated from the actual church. That may have been Lifetime Fitness, which is a fairly new building on the north side of Lakewood Church, pretty much adjacent via a sky bridge. But you see a family here who may have been in the church, infant among them, making their way toward us here at Richmond and Timmins. Still a very active scene. A lot of people coming out with various stories, including a lady I interviewed a few minutes ago who said she was in the service, or one service was wrapping up, it was transitioning to the Spanish-speaking service. That's when she heard what she thought were maybe collapsible tables being dismantled or put up, very loud banging type noises that may resemble gunshots. Then she realized, in fact, they were apparent gunshots, at least 3 of them, maybe more, or maybe 2 short bursts. She wasn't quite sure, but in any event, she and some other people hunkered down in a room off a corridor, put some slats against the door. There was no ventilation inside. She said it got very hot, very emotional. Some people were crying, but they prayed the whole time and prayed for the situation to end and for officers to do what they need to do. And apparently they have arrived en masse to try and handle this situation. The lady I interviewed claiming she saw a guy holding a gun, pointing it toward people in the building. She believes, through what she was told, and again, this is not confirmed through police, that the shooters may have been a man and a woman, so possibly 2 shooters involved in this situation, whatever it was, and for what reason, we certainly don't know at this point. But that's the latest here along Timmins at Richmond, where we're told police will come at some point maybe and provide a briefing here. But at this point, no early signs of any staging. Or, obviously, a very fluid situation as crews and other people make their way in front of our cameras at times, but obviously we'll continue to keep track of what's going on here and bring you any updates, guys.
Jason, I wonder, I see a lot of fire trucks and I see a lot of patrol cars. Are there any ambulances? Have you seen any indication of that? Any reports of ambulances going to a hospital?
No reports of ambulances going anywhere, but I definitely saw multiple ambulances on the scene. We've been moved farther down Timmons, but when I was in a parking garage initially, I made my way into a parking garage there at Lifetime Fitness that is connected to Lakewood Church. Had a very clear view of the front of the church as tactical officers and other officers made their way in to the church after this call, and there were definitely ambulances on the scene then. I can't really see, my vision won't allow me the other end of Timmons to see if there are ambulances there. Cesar, are there ambulances still on the scene? I can't tell. It looks as if there are some ambulances still here, fire engines, multiple law enforcement vehicles from various agencies. I saw Constable Alan Rosen himself on the scene earlier as well. So obviously a very active, urgent situation, as you might imagine, with a place like Lakewood Church involved, guys.
Clearly, though, a safe place in all of this happening right now where you are located, Jason, just because we're seeing families on the move there. No one appears to be running in a rush or running from danger at this point. So just from what we see from where you are, it appears that things are under control, or needless to say, there's not an extreme threat, an immediate threat right there.
There doesn't appear to be, not at all, at least where we are. Families casually making their way, certainly still concerned, but making their way to the vehicles of family members or other places. And as you mentioned earlier, that Lamar High School may be a place where families are able to catch up with any loved ones who happen to be at the church service at this time. But on this side, certainly the police presence providing some sense of calm or at least relief or safety for folks still making their way out of Lakewood.
Yeah, Jason Miles out running today and stumbled onto this breaking news. Jason, thank you. As Jason talked about, people are gathering. There's a reunification site at Lifetime Fitness, which sits directly behind Lakewood Church. I go to Lifetime Fitness. I know this area quite well. For folks who've been around a long time, this is the former City Club, and then Lifetime took it over about 2.5 years ago. According to Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, an update saying the shooter, or a shooter, is down, but we do not know who fired the shots. There's going to be a staging area for the media at Richmond and Timmons. What time that is, we don't know. We also are told that authorities are methodically going through the complex, which is quite large. Lakewood is quite large. They're going through that complex methodically, searching, looking. Perhaps other people maybe are hiding. We don't know. So that staging area where they're going to have a news conference for the media is where we will get the very latest and accurate information.
You're right. The search of that complex, it could take quite a while just because of how expansive the church is itself and all of its facilities. You have to think, when we talk about church service at Lakewood Church, we're talking about thousands in attendance at one time. And we were right in the transition of two different church services happening when these shots were fired there at Lakewood Church. You know, for so many people, you remember Lakewood Church is the former Summit where the Rockets played, and the church itself is that large and has such a massive membership and following that they house this facility that so many people know so well, not just here in the city of Houston, but across the country and around the world. This certainly, because of the circumstance and nature of what's happened today, is major breaking news, but it is definitely national and international news.
Absolutely.
Because of the church itself.
And so that begs the question, at what point will we hear from Pastor Joel Osteen, who has guided this church for quite some time? He became pastor after his father, who was also a well-known pastor, and he's the one that brought all of the high production value to the Lakewood Church services. If you've been in attendance with the choir, and they have all the cameras and the jibs, and it really is quite a spectacle. And so he kind of expanded and built on his father's ministry to create what you see here in the former Summit, now simply called Lakewood Church. So at some point, we hope to hear from Pastor Joel Osteen and Victoria Osteen and perhaps other members of the family. His sister is a minister there. His brother-in-law is there. It is truly a family affair. His son and daughter are also heavily involved. So we just have to wait and see exactly what they have to say, what they can add to the information that investigators will be providing.
And the Reunification Center, we hope to hear from some church members there just about how they're doing. You know, this is so traumatic for people, and we hear it from individuals who we interview all the time at these terrible situations, how shocking it is, and they can't believe that it happened. You know, this is just a typical Sunday for folks.
Yes.
Headed to church with their family and likely preparing for the Super Bowl after church as well. So this happening and to this church community is so shocking and jarring for those people. We have yet to hear about any injuries. Hopefully there are none to report, although Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez does say that a shooter is down. He has posted that on Twitter, so we do know that. The HPD chief and Houston mayor are now also on the scene, so hopefully we'll be learning more information and details of this investigation and shooting situation at Lakewood Church.
We have two reporters on the scene right now. We heard from Jason Miles earlier. Now let's go to Matt Doherty, who is also in the area. Matt, what can you tell us right now?
Okay, so right now let me set the scene for you. So we're standing on the corner of Timmons and Richmond right now. This is where they're supposed to have a press conference to give us all those official details that we've been wondering throughout the day. You see those HCSO or HPD? Could you tell?
I couldn't tell.
It looks like HCSO deputies that just sped off from where we're at right now. Anyway, this is kind of close to the reunification area that you all have been talking about. You see that Lifetime Fitness over there? That's the place where everybody who is inside of Lakewood Church is supposed to go and meet some of their family members. You can see over here, it looks like some of the people who are inside now coming out. If you listen to that interview from Jason Miles a little bit earlier, he was talking to a woman who said that, you know, they were basically on lockdown and they were just praying in a closet that that shooter wasn't going to come for them. Luckily they did not, and it seems like all these people are going to be safe too. You guys doing okay? Good. Thank you.
Okay, Matt Doherty
so these
there.
are some of the folks I would presume are coming out of the church right now. Anyway, that's what we're waiting on right now, Lynn, is we're just waiting for these law enforcement officials to come and post up with us, and hopefully they're going to be giving us some more information.
Absolutely. Matt there, right there at Richmond and Timmons. Right behind him, you can see the well-known, famous Tony's Restaurant is also right there. So we're going to wait and hear what investigators have to say. It takes time when you have such an active scene and so many people involved. We see it in school shootings. It takes time to kind of find out everything that's going on. We're hoping and praying that there were no people who were shot. We know that shots were fired, but we're going to find exactly what is going on, if there are victims, what the victim count is, what the extent of the injuries are. A lot of unanswered questions, but that's why we continue to follow this and wait to get an update from investigators who were standing where Matt is, and we will be going to that as soon as that happens.
It takes time because ensuring everyone's safety is their first priority, right? Finding the threat, the suspect or suspects, we don't know how many people were involved first, but securing, taking down that person or taking that person in, as well as ensuring the safety and security of all the people there on the scene. And you have to keep in mind, we're talking about potentially hundreds, if not thousands of people at one time to ensure their safety. We heard from people inside the church and what was going on during that time. You heard a woman say that they ran away from the shooter, a man she describes as someone holding a pistol and pointing a pistol at people. They ran away from a shooter and tried to seek safety behind a large barrier within the church, where she said they then all prayed. So we're still working to find out the details, if that is in fact the suspect, if that suspect has been taken in or yet taken down.
So here we are on a Super Bowl Sunday when people have parties and there's a big celebration, and of course Lakewood always has large attendance on Sunday to their multiple services, and yet we have this incident going on. You are told to stay away from this area. Now, I'm sure a lot of people who may have been to the Galleria or gone to Costco or wherever in that general vicinity, and you probably drive down Richmond or perhaps along the Southwest Freeway trying to get back home. You're not going to be able to do it. Richmond shut down at the very earliest. If you're traveling eastbound on Richmond coming from 610, you're going to be told to turn around or turn at Drexel because they have all of Richmond shut down, probably maybe as far as Buffalo Speedway, I'm not sure, but that entire stretch you cannot go down. So people are going to have to find different ways to get around. If you're driving up and you're wondering what the heck is going on, this is what is going on.
And there's so much located right there in the immediate area. So this is the Greenway Plaza area. If you're familiar with Greenway Plaza, home to several business offices there. Also, it's a mixed use developments. We're talking commercial, residential, a lot of businesses, including the Lifetime Fitness that's located at One Healthy Way in Greenway Plaza. That's where we have the Reunification Center. Now, not too far away from that Lifetime Fitness is also Edwards Cinema, where we know that they
2 blocks away.
Yes, that they locked in people there for their safety. We heard from some people outside of the movie theater saying that there were people inside and being held there for their own safety and security, because we're still awaiting word to find out exactly what is taking place. Taking a close-up look here of the church itself, and you can see officers walking outside the church. Here's the good thing, Len. If we're looking for good signs here in a very bad situation, but it appears there is no immediate threat right there per their posture and how they are moving around the church itself. Now, inside, we know they are doing a rather thorough search of the building and the facility.
So we know, I can only say to what you just said, Mia, is we certainly hope so. Because until we get confirmation, we don't know what we're dealing with here in terms of injuries, etc. I can only hope so. This is a shot from Air 11, and we are told a bomb robot has now been brought in. I don't know if it's inside or if that's part of the truck that brought it, either the white or the black one. I'm not certain.
That is the SWAT truck.
That's the
that
SWAT
we're
truck.
seeing. Yes,
Okay.
the SWAT truck, I believe, is the black truck that we are seeing right now.
But apparently they did bring in a bomb robot to go in and, as part of the search, use that robot to see if they can find anything that could be a bomb.
Yes.
Now, why they're doing that, we don't know. But certainly, maybe it's nothing more than a precaution. Don't know what they're hearing, but it may be just as a precaution. I am certain that everybody is out of Lakewood Church, and so they're doing their methodic search, and now they've taken the bomb robot in to add to the search.
It's part of the protocol to ensure that the building itself is safe and there are no more threats inside the building or around the building. It appears that the outside perimeter is secured, but now they must sweep through the building itself, and part of that includes a bomb robot that we know of. We're seeing a HPD SWAT truck there on the scene as well. We say bomb robot, but we have yet to hear any word or confirmation about
an actual bomb.
An actual bomb. All we know thus far is what witnesses have told us, and we've had multiple witnesses share with us that they saw a man with what appeared to be a pistol.
A pistol with a long barrel. We're also hearing, we know that 2 agencies at least are part of this search. Ed Gonzalez, Harris County Sheriff, says that they are part of a extensive and methodical search, that along with Houston Police. So I am sure they have a lot of manpower, a lot of deputies and police officers who are sweeping through Lakewood right now to make sure that nobody is either hiding, that nobody is hurt that they don't know about, and perhaps even a suspect, I don't know. But they are sweeping the area, and perhaps when they are comfortable knowing that the sweep is good, then maybe we will then hear from investigators about all the things they can tell us.
I think that's exactly the case. So we do know now there's been a time set for the media briefing. It's at 4:30. So they might be planning that time around this sweep and being able to share the exact situation with the building and give that all clear publicly as well. You have to think this happened at 12:45. So we are a few hours into this on this Sunday, this Super Bowl Sunday. It poured rain earlier this morning. The sun cleared. I'm sure everyone here at Lakewood Church was looking forward to their Sunday,
as they usually do, yeah.
Sunday service, and then they were met by violence.
We have talked to 2 witnesses. One said she heard what sounded like a pistol. Another woman said she saw a gunman with a pistol. pointing it, not firing it. She said it was a pistol with a long barrel. That's all she described it as. And then she described turning and running away and hiding in a closet with several other people. This woman, we have mentioned her before, visiting for the first time Lakewood Church. She's been here 2 weeks from Los Angeles, not unusual. People come in town. Lakewood is part of the itinerary in terms of things to do in Houston.
Right. Of course, Joel Osteen, the pastor, having such a big reach there, reaching people internationally as well. And in fact, one witness told our reporters that she was meeting with Joel Osteen and others on the second floor when she heard that gunfire. And we've heard from multiple people that they heard this gunfire in different parts of the building. So that just shows us just how intense the gunfire itself was. We hope to learn more information about what type of weapon was fired and used. We also hope to learn more information about any possible injuries. Hopefully that is so not the case this afternoon as we continue to follow this breaking news at Lakewood Church. And we're taking a live picture from Air 11 right now, and you're looking at the main building. That's the one that's marked with Lakewood Church and Pastor Joel Osteen, and then that parking lot. Well, when you look closer at the main building, you see what appear to be a couple of vans and trucks there, and one of those, at least we know, is an HPD SWAT vehicle. Giving you two shots, one from Air 11, the other from Transtar on the right-hand side. And what you're seeing from Transtar there is the traffic on 59. This is a really, really busy area. So, you know, the south side is bordered by the freeway. The north side, you know, you move closer to Richmond, and there's so much in between there that people frequent, not just during the week, as I mentioned, Greenway Plaza and all of the offices there, but definitely on the weekend as well, with restaurants, shops, workout facilities, and the gym.
We know certainly, and you mentioned this before, that there was a heavy police presence during the service because that is normal. They need it to handle all of the traffic coming in and out of the building for the services. And of course they have security inside because it's such a large audience. So clearly, they had a lot of people, either, and I wouldn't call them investigators, but officers who were not only inside but outside when the shooting happened, and they could respond quickly and go to whatever the threat is. And we know that a suspect is down. The condition of that suspect, we don't know. Who that suspect is, we still don't know. We also don't know the extent of if anybody was hit, what the injuries are. And here's the other question floating out there. What's the motive? Why?
Right.
Why is somebody...
Was this someone who attended the church?
Yes.
Was this someone who never had attended the church? There's so many questions to be answered in this case. Our Jason Miles has been there at Lakewood Church. He rushed over from a workout of his own to get there to the scene as fast as he could. Jason, we're thankful that you're there. Want to know what the latest is from your vantage point.
Well, a lot of people are actually just leaving the church or the area near the church where they evacuated to after this incident. I just met this mother and two children. She says her English isn't that great, but this young man I think can speak English. What's your name?
Ethan.
Ethan, describe what you heard in the church.
So we heard some bangs, and then our teacher. I was in a dance group in the chapel in church when I heard some gun shooting. Well, I didn't hear it. My teacher said she heard some, and then we ran into like the bathroom. But there's a hallway that leads to the bathroom, and I peeked out the windows and I saw cops coming. So I knew there was something inside the church that would do damage to us. So my dance group ran into the bathroom, and all we had to defend ourselves is a knife, a box cutter, and a wooden and some wood to block the doors.
Ethan, I'm so sorry you had to deal with this. I doubt you've ever heard a gunshot. Is that what it sounded like, or did it sound like a balloon popping, or what?
It sounded like gunshots.
Did you ever expect anything like this at church?
No.
What do you think of all the police who came?
I was kind of nervous because when I came out, my sister wasn't with my mother yet, and we had to wait 30 minutes until my sister came.
And what's your sister's name?
Adeline.
Is she okay?
Yes.
Emotional time, huh, Mom?
Yeah. it's hard for my family. Never, nunca teníamos esa experiencia.
She never had the experience.
Cesar, my photographer, translating on the fly here for me, she never experienced anything like that. Have you gone to Lakewood a long time?
Yes, for 22 years.
22 years coming to Lakewood.
Yes.
Will you come back?
Yes, sure. I am Christian. Yo creo en Dios y sé que Él nos va a cuidar siempre.
She believes in God, she's a Christian, and she will be back to Lakewood. Thank you, Ethan and Mom and Sister. I hope you're okay? I know it's a scary afternoon, but police are here and everything's secure, and hopefully you guys can make it home safely. Thank you very much. Again, we're at Richmond and Timmins, where a lot of people are still making their way out of the church after what it was a very frightful, obviously scary situation at a normally, peaceful gathering of people who come here to worship on a weekly basis. Thousands of people over multiple services on any given Sunday, and certainly one out of the ordinary today, guys.
22 years attending, never anything like this, and her little boy Ethan, so brave to sit there and share his story with you. Thank you, Jason. Want to pass on some information now coming to us from Constable Alan Rosen. He shares on Twitter, this is preliminary information, but he states a child shot between the ages of 5 and 9 and a shooter also shot. He shares that the press conference is at 4:30. Once again, this information coming from Constable Alan Rosen in a tweet, a child shot between the ages of 5 and 9 and a shooter also shot.
We are continuing to follow the shooting at Lakewood Church, which has now been about 3.5 hours ago that we first got word of what was going on. You're taking a live look from Air 11 right now of Lakewood Church, which sits right along the Southwest Freeway right at Timmins. You have a lot of apartment buildings there. You have strip centers with a lot of buildings. There's a car dealership right across the street. So it is a very active and busy area. And right, if you look straight back, the building behind Lakewood, if you just follow the eyesight, that is Lifetime Fitness Center that sits right behind it. And on the other side of that is Richmond Avenue, where you have a whole bunch of restaurants and shops and businesses, and it is always very busy, especially on the weekends. So we can tell you, as Mia mentioned, 2 people shot, a suspect and a child. The condition of the child that was shot, we don't know, or the condition of the suspect that was shot. In about 20 minutes, we expect to hear an update from investigators at Richmond and Timmins. They will give us an update on how their search is going and exactly what happened here today.
Okay, we have some brand new video. Is it ready to go? I want to talk with our producer. It's live TV, folks, a breaking news situation. Are we ready to go with this video? Okay, we're working on some video and some audio that we want to share with you from the scene itself. But in the meantime, we want to share some more information.
We do. We just got a statement from Governor Greg Abbott. He sent this out saying, quote, "Our hearts are with those impacted by today's tragic shooting and the entire Lakewood Church community in Houston. Places of worship are sacred." He says he has been in contact with Mayor Whitmire and offered the full support and resources of the state of Texas, including the Department of Public Safety officers, Texas Rangers as well, to help this community and help bring swift justice to the criminal who committed this heinous act. John Cecilia and I join Cecilia, that's his wife, in praying for this community during this difficult time, for the brave men and women in blue who acted quickly to respond to this tragedy. Again, that is a statement from Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Okay, we're trying to watch happening in real time. Of course, these are live images that we're showing you. We're seeing someone on a gurney being put into an ambulance. This is here outside of Lakewood Church happening. Now, we don't know the extent of that person's injuries, what it was caused by. You can imagine, of course, in a situation like this, anxiety and the stress of the situation can be overwhelming and perhaps even trigger something medically with someone. So, hope all is well for this individual being loaded into the ambulance. All we know thus far about any possible injuries is what Constable Alan Rosen has shared on Twitter just within the last few minutes when he tweeted about a child who was shot between the ages of 5 and 9 and a shooter who was also shot. Now, we're talking about a shooting. We've heard about one suspect. That shooter is down, according to Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, and we have multiple agencies here who are involved with this scene. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez saying the shooter is down. Alan Rosen also saying he was shot. We don't know if this is the same individual that witnesses told us they saw inside the church, and that was a man with a gun, which appeared to be a pistol, a long barrel pistol at the time. So we've heard witnesses talk about this gun. We've also seen a bomb robot go inside Lakewood Church just within the past 15 minutes as well to observe their scan for any potential bomb threat in the building to be able to ensure the all clear and all is well and safe.
All right, let's go to Matt Doherty. He's at Richmond and Timmins right now, where we're waiting on investigators, and looks like he has some folks to talk to. Matt?
Yep, we're talking to some of these folks who are coming out right now, and you can see that they were very shaken today. Can you just kind of repeat what you were telling me, Maria? Tell me what happened.
They listen a lot of chats. You know, the first time es no, es que no es como chat, sino que something making noise. Pero you know, cuando I see the people running and then que something what happened, and somebody when you say go, let's go, somebody's shouting, and pues ya.
And so what did you do? Did you run?
I mean, stay, you know, I pray until God, this is time that I'm ready. And I mean, take a peace. And now starting to follow my friends, my sister, my brothers. But, you know, and this time, thank you, God, que it's wonderful because the faith is que God is every time is covered. Yes, me, thank you, I'm in peace.
And you were telling me that you couldn't, because you were on the second floor, you couldn't see who the shooter was, right?
No, nobody saw the shooting because it was behind the stage.
Behind the stage?
Yeah, outside.
Outside?
Yeah. And like she said,
so describe that to me. So you're telling me that it was coming from behind the stage, where everybody was on the stage. It was coming from behind the stage.
The chorus and people start singing. Mm-hmm. That was
behind the chorus.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you know that? Just because of the sound of it? Or?
Yeah, because it was the sound like a metal shooting, and after like the three or third time or fourth time was like a detonation.
So you think it was 4 shots that you heard clearly?
No,
more.
No,
How many?
I don't know. It's a lot of
shots.
Really?
Lot of shots. And really, it's no easy. It's see the people, you know, get running and fall and everything. Is the people crazy, you know, and thank you, God, can take a peace here. No running because it's not good running because it's dangerous. It's no bad. It's bad, yes.
Did you see anybody that fell down that looked like they'd been shot or anything like that?
Only my one sister. One sister fell down.
The one woman?
Yes. She is in panic. Yes, she is in panic, but you know. Thank you, God, everything is
glad
okay.
You got out. You had to take your shoes off.
Yes,
get out of there as fast as possible.
Yes, I'm running on my shoes, but you know, for a long time, it's take it out because I'm tired.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we'll let you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Good luck. Glad you're safe, okay?
Thank you.
All right. So there you hear some of these frightened people who were inside of the church when it happened. We're going to move over a second. Some of these frightened parishioners just leaving now.
Exhausting.
You know, they'd been on lockdown for a little bit, and now they're able to go home. So yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
It is. I'm thankful they are okay this afternoon. Matt Doherty, not too far from Lakewood Church at the moment. Also not too far from Lakewood Church is Anayeli Ruiz. She joins us now on the phone. She's at Richmond and Edlow near Lakewood Church. Anayeli, I understand you spoke with people who were inside the church. Okay, well, we had her on the phone. We'll try and reconnect with her in just a bit. Hang tight with us. Again, breaking news, a lot taking place here. We're working to get you as much information as we can to pass along. All right, we think she's patched in now. Let's try again. Aniele, hi, are you there?
Hey, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. We understand you spoke with some people who were inside the church.
Yes, so I did speak with a family who said that they were here for the service. They got here early. They were seated. They had taken their kids to daycare already. They have several kids and an infant, actually, who was also in daycare. As you can imagine, they were extremely frightened when they say they heard several gunshots. They say they were all happening. They thought at first that the gunshots were part of either the band, because it came from behind the stage, is what they're telling me, that they heard the gunshots behind the stage, and then they realized that it wasn't music or anything coming from the band, and that's when he told his wife, hey, get down, take cover. So his wife took cover, and he said, I'm going to go look for our baby. So he says he ran out of the main part of the church, and he ran out to try and see if he could get to his baby, but that they were locked and he could not get in. So he felt a little safer that they were locked, but as you can imagine, he didn't know where they were.
And Aniele, which service were they attending? Because we were told one service was just wrapping up, another one was getting started. There was an English-speaking service and a Spanish-speaking service, and we were in between the transition of the two. Do you know which one they were attending?
Yes, they were attending the Spanish service. They were attending the Spanish service. They said they had gotten there early, with their kiddos ready. They said, to obviously come and celebrate their son just like any other kid. That, the most frightening thing was that they couldn't get their kids for hours. And I think, when they picked up one of their kids, he said, Daddy, that they were locked in the bathroom for a long time.
Yes. That seems to be what we're hearing from other families, too. We heard from a little boy who also shared that he and other children from Sunday school were hiding in the bathroom. Aniele, was he relocated with his children, and about how long did that take?
He said it took over an hour, and they actually just got their infant right now, like minutes ago. He said that was the most nerve-wracking thing, is that nobody could tell him where his infant son was. And so that was for him and his wife. As you can imagine, they were coming out here in tears, hugging their baby, kissing their baby once they were given their infant baby boy. But as you can imagine, they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what happened, and they just wanted to hold their babies again. And so a very emotional interview that I'll, of course, post on our Twitter page so you guys can see. It is in one of the families are out here. Like I said, they did these interviews in Spanish, and still very emotional, still trying to figure out what happened here. But a sigh of relief for a lot of us who are reunited with their children again.
Yeah, a little bit of distortion with Aniele's phone call. She is on the move there. Right there on the right-hand side of your screen, you're looking at the Reunification Center at Lifetime Fitness. Aniele talking about just how long it took for one family who she spoke to be reunited with their children. You have to think this started at 12:45.
Yeah,
so if that family was just reunited with their infant baby minutes ago, that was a couple of hours not knowing where their child was.
We have a team on this story today. Marcelino Benito joining us right now. Marcelino, what do you have?
Well, Len, we've been hearing a lot from witnesses, from our reporters who are at the scene, but now we're getting brand new video just into the newsroom. This is video taken from a live stream that appears to be from inside Lakewood Church. The man on camera you're about to see is sharing details in Spanish of a service, giving people what looks like information on a website before you hear what could be gunshots. Take a listen.
Missions.com/2024. Repito.
You see his eyes get real big there right after he hears the initial round of gunshots, then seems to look away from the camera, looking back behind him. As soon as you hear those gunshots, guys, in that video, you see people sort of start to run and flee, apparently down an escalator. That is video we're getting from inside Lakewood Church of the moments right after that shooting unfolded. Now, after these types of incidents, as they unfold, our team starts coving and scanning through scanner traffic, those communications between law enforcement as these scenes unfold in real time. Our producers here have sifted through a lot of that traffic early, and we have a clip to play you of that police response communication between agencies. Take a listen.
I think units, where are you at? Lakewood Church. Lakewood Church and Ralph. We need units at Lakewood Church. Active shooters.
Now, two quick thoughts on what we just heard there. If you pay attention, you listen carefully, I'm not sure if you heard it, you hear gunshots in the back of that communication as law enforcement is responding and calling in for backup. You also hear an officer there saying active shooters, plural. At this point, we should note we are only aware of one official shooter, that information coming from the Harris County Sheriff's Office. But as you guys have mentioned throughout this coverage, this is a Houston Police Department scene. We hope to hear from them in about 9 minutes at 4:30, where they will hold a press conference. Chief Finner, the mayor, and everyone who's responded will be there to brief us on what's unfolded here today.
Wow,
guys,
troubling to see that video. Marcelino, thank you. And as the witness said earlier, describing to Jason Miles, the woman said it sounded like tables collapsing. That's exactly what that gunshot
and mechanical
sounded like.
Equipment. Someone said they thought it was mechanical equipment, which makes sense because if this took place behind a stage, you would think that. So it took a moment for it to register for everyone there in the church what was going on. Jason Miles outside the church. Let's join him now. Jason.
Yeah, we've heard it sounded like something mechanical, to balloons popping, to collapsible tables being put up. Alexander and his son Aaron here were inside the church when all of this went down. Alexander, describe what you heard and or saw.
We're sitting on the front stage when we hear the guns. And I told my family to get it down on the floor because, you know, that's what I learned for people and shootings, you know, things like that.
Aaron, I suspect you never thought it would happen here.
Yeah.
What did you hear?
I just heard a bunch of gunshots, and I just saw people running.
How many would you say?
Like gunshots? Like 10 to 12.
That many?
Yeah. And immediately, did you think it was gunfire, or did you think it was something else? I didn't think because I just saw people running, and then I just start hearing the gunshots.
And fortunately, you and your family are okay, right?
Yeah.
Did you see a gunman or anything like that?
No, we don't see it. We don't see it, but we just hear it. Yeah, you know, because a lot of people are running, you know. I think, but I don't see it, you know.
I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad your family's okay. Scary situation, huh?
Oh, yeah. You know, we can die. We can die and, you know, involved in those things. Yeah. I try to, you know, survive. Told my family to get on the floor. That's it.
Will you be back to Lakewood?
Yeah, we do. You know, it's the house, God house, you know, supposed to. Where we try to be out of the bad, you know, things that we do, you know, that's where we're trying to get into the good things.
Alexander, Aaron, thank you for your time. Among the congregates inside Lakewood today, when shots rang out, they evacuated, and we're standing in between those two mirrored twin towers, if you will, inside Greenway Plaza. For those of you who are familiar, this is where families are being told to come out after they leave Lakewood Church. Obviously, many of them hunkered down in various rooms, made their way over to a connecting parking garage. Now they're being told to come out here to Greenway Plaza outside the Life Cafe, which is in the first level of the Lifetime Fitness, which is to the immediate north of Lakewood Church, a grassy area with a big fountain. And this is where people can meet up with family members and so forth and make their way on home after a very traumatic day for many people, guys.
A very traumatic day for those of the faith. So many people leaning into their faith today, saying they will be back to the church. The church apparently targeted, or someone in the church targeted. We're not sure at this moment. We're still waiting to find out so much information. Jason Miles there on the ground for us. Thank you so much. But what we do know at this time is that there was a shooting at 12:45, and we have now seen video from inside the church, not of the shooting itself, but a communication video that was playing, and you can hear the gunshots in the background. We do know that, according to Constable Alan Rosen, he tweeted that a child was shot between the ages of 5 and 9, and a shooter was also shot. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez also confirming that the shooter was down. This is an HPD scene. This is in their area. It is theirs to patrol, so we are waiting to find out more from HPD on what information they have gathered in this ongoing investigation, now hours into the shooting at Lakewood Church.
So based on what you just said, we've got two people down, a gunman and a child. We don't know if there are any more victims from this shooting. We did see someone being brought out on a gurney not too long ago. That person, I took a good look. They seem to be fine, alert, not seriously injured. They were put into an ambulance. We're supposed to have a news update from investigators in about 4 minutes. That might slide as investigators continue to try and do their work. We have been talking about why or how this could happen. For point of reference, historically, this is not the first time something or someone has targeted Lakewood Church. Back in 1990, a pipe bomb was sent to John Osteen, who founded the church. That is Joel's father. That pipe bomb was opened by Joel's sister, Lisa. It went off. She was injured, but not seriously. That was back in 1990, and now here we have another situation.
All right, yes. And of course, the church has grown through the years and relocated. When they dealt with that first terrible ordeal, they were in a different part of Houston, yes, a much smaller facility. They had since relocated and for several years now been at Lakewood Church, the former site of the Summit, in what is a very, very thriving part of Southwest Houston. You have Greenway Plaza with office buildings there, towering office buildings. You have restaurants in the area, a theater in the area. So such a thriving area dominated by this investigation this afternoon, this ongoing investigation. We hope to learn more soon. Let's check in now with Anieli Ruiz. She has someone with her. Anieli.
That's right here. I'm here with Silvia. She is one of the many people who attended here the service, and I'm going to translate as best as possible. Silvia, cuénteme, usted dice que iba llegando, she just got here when this all started. ¿Qué pasó en ese momento cuando usted llegó? What happened when you got here at that moment?
Cuando iba llegando, había 3 personas que iban corriendo, 2 hombres y una mujer, y nada más se decían uno al otro, córrele, córrele, córrele. Pero yo dije, algo les pasó a ellos, a la familia de ellos, ¿verdad? Y me seguí caminando. Y ya iba a entrar al santuario cuando sale gente corriendo y otra gente que iba bajando la escalera también corriendo y diciendo, están tirando, hay balazos, hay balazos.
And she said that, you know, whenever she got there, she said she saw several people that were running and kept telling her, run, run, run. And she really didn't understand what was happening. But then she saw more people coming out of the sanctuary telling her to run, that there were some shots fired inside the church. And that's when she said she started running. Usted me estaba contando que que trataron de abrir las puertas. She said she was trying to open the doors, but they were having a hard time.
Había unas puertas en el pasillo que tratamos de abrir, pero estaban cerradas, estaban laqueadas. No sé si a ese tiempo alguna gente ya se había metido y la había laqueado. Entonces corrimos y mucha gente se salió para afuera a agarrar sus carros. Pero otros como yo estábamos, ¿a dónde nos vamos? ¿A dónde nos vamos? Y hasta que una persona que trabaja para voluntario nos dijo, por aquí, véngase por aquí. Nos llevó a un cuarto donde le dan clases a los niños. Y allí nos dijo, métanse a los baños, son más seguros los baños, y laqueen las puertas.
So she said that they were trying to get out, but she said that the doors were actually locked. So she didn't understand why they were locked. But she said, fortunately, a volunteer did guide them to a room and locked them in a restroom. And she said that they were able to wait there. ¿Cómo cuánto tiempo esperaron? How long did you guys wait?
Yo creo que como 2 horas, yo creo.
She said that they waited 2 hours. ¿Qué pasó por su mente en ese momento, señora? What was going through your mind?
Cuando yo iba corriendo por el pasillo, oí los balazos, pero eran como de una arma fuerte de una arma grande porque se hace like that. Y no, pues yo nada más diciendo, Dios está con nosotros, no, estamos bien, Dios está aquí, y buscando la manera, escondiéndome ya ahí en el baño, pero pues todos estábamos a la expectativa de qué es lo que estaba pasando. Nos dijeron aquí en la puerta y no le abran a nadie hasta que nosotros vengamos. También estaban poniendo furniture en las puertas del cuarto ese. Los voluntarios estaban moviendo furniture para ponerle más peso a la puerta, que no se abriera.
She tells me that, I asked her what was going through her mind in that moment. She said she kept praying, God is with us, God is with us. And, she said that a lot of times they were putting furniture up on the doors to prevent anything from happening. Un momento muy difícil para ustedes. She said that, one other thing, I'm so sorry. She also did mention that, she heard the gunshots and they were really, really, really loud.
Era un arma strong, un arma fuerte.
She said it was a very strong weapon. ¿Qué decía la otra gente? What were the other people saying?
Pues nada más corriendo y unos pensando por los niños que estaban en otro cuarto, en el tercero y en el cuarto piso había niños y preocupados por sus niños, pero todos estábamos ya encerrados allí y pues diciendo gracias a Dios estamos aquí encerrados y poner las cosas todas en manos de Dios y estuvimos allí, más o menos vamos a decir que a la expectativa.
All right, Anieli, thank you. Now let's listen in to investigators first. Mayor John Whitmire.
I'm John Whitmire, Mayor of Houston, Texas, and I stand before you today, unfortunately, to report on a tragedy that occurred just before 2 o'clock at Lakewood Church as they were in between services. I'll leave the details of the first responders' reaction in a timely fashion to the Chiefs Fenner and Chief Pena. I want Houstonians and surrounding communities to know that the first responders are doing their job in protecting the public, Houstonians, and surrounding communities. I also want everyone to know that this is a perfect example of the collaboration between departments. It's exactly what we've been calling for. HPD, constables. I could just go through a list of multiple agencies representing their agencies in a very responsive way. We want to give our condolences to Reverend Osteen and his congregation. It's unfortunate on a day that we want to attend church, watch America's #1 sports event, we find ourselves gathered here to respond to this tragedy. We want Houstonians to know that they are being protected by their first responders. We want to thank the Houston Fire Department for their quick response, the medical profession who is tending to one of the injured. So, as mayor of the city of Houston, I want to assure everyone that everyone is at work doing their job. Let's come together on this beautiful day, a day that we're experiencing a tragedy. Let's hug our loved ones. When you leave here today, go hug your loved ones and say a prayer for those that are involved. Say a prayer for those officers that had to drop this suspect. They're suffering right now. And all these other first responders that I'm surrounded by, they're doing their job so we can be safe. At this time, let me yield to our Police Chief, Troy Fenner.
Thank you, Mayor. Like the mayor said, and I think the most important message, before I get into details, is talk about the resiliency of our great city. And we worship together, we cry together, but we rebuild together. This is a tragic day to watch how we stand together. No suspect or suspects will tear down our city and our places of worship. Pastor Osteen is standing with us and all of our partners. And I want to thank them all, our local, our state, our federal partners. I just want to give some detail here, but pray for everybody that's involved. The victims who I'll discuss here, and the unsaid victims, those individuals that came here to worship today and had to witness this. But rest assured, in this city, we're going to stand strong and we're going to move forward. So approximately at 1:53 p.m., a female, approximately 30, 35 years old, entered the property on the west side here in the parking lot of Lakewood Church. She entered the building. She was armed with a long rifle and a trench coat with a backpack, accompanied by a small child, approximately 4 to 5 years old. Once she entered, at some point she began to fire. I want to compliment the off-duty officers who were working extra employment here. One TABC agent, 4 years of service, 38 years old. An HPD off-duty officer, 28 years old, 2 years of service. Both officers, officer and agent, engaged, striking the female. She's deceased here on the scene. Unfortunately, a 5-year-old kid was hit and is in critical condition at our local hospital. There was a 57-year-old man who didn't have anything to do with it, I don't think, was shot in the leg. He's seeking treatment in the hospital. So let's all pray for each and every one of them. Once she went down, officers reported back to us that she threatened, that she had a bomb. So we searched her vehicle, our bomb squad, and also the backpack. No explosives were found, but she was also spraying some type of substance on the ground. So HFD came and the fire chief would speak briefly on that. But again, we're gonna stand strong. Again, I wanna commend those officers. She had a long gun and it could have been a lot worse, but they stepped up and they did their job. And I wanna thank them for that. As you know, when an officer's involved in a shooting, we conducted a criminal investigation, Harris County District Attorney's Office, and also both agencies conduct administrative investigations. That will take place. Both of these officers will, and the officer and the agent will be placed on administrative duty. But again, let's pray for everybody. And we stand strong here in Houston. I'll pass it on right now. Let me say this too. Places of worship. That's what they are. And that's what they will remain in our city. So it's just an opportunity for us to refocus and make sure that we all look out for one another. There will be increased patrols and a lot of conversation in our command posts with our federal partners and our local partners. But we're going to increase those patrols in and around those religious institutions, and it doesn't matter which faith. We love everybody here in our city, and everybody's important. So let me pass it on to Fire Chief Pena.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor. First of all, let me thank all the agencies that are here with us. This is really a team effort, and our prayers are with, and our positive thoughts are with the injured, and with the officers that engaged this suspect. It's traumatic not only for our community, but it's certainly traumatic for the officers who've had to take a life, and we worry about their mental health as well. So our prayers are with them, and we're going to give them whatever support they need to ensure that they are able to manage through this incident safely. Kudos to the first responders. The Houston Fire Department, Police Department was here within minutes. We are now dealing with consequence management of this incident. Now that the threat has been neutralized, we are going to take our time to ensure that any issue, any risk that we see is properly vetted. We have our hazmat team on scene. You see behind us, you have decon units that are participating in collaboration with the Houston Police Department's bomb squad to ensure that we are looking at every aspect that may be of risk. Right now, I can safely say that we have not found anything that is of concern to our community or to this location. But we're going to take our time to ensure that we look at every aspect. Our hazmat team, our decon team, and our rescue team will remain on scene until needed. and we're going to collaborate in this effort. We did transport 2 patients. One, approximately a 5-year-old child in critical condition. They went to Texas Children's, and we transported a second male, about 56 years of age, with an injury to the hip. Last I heard, he was in stable condition. Both are still in the hospital. The child is still in critical condition, and we don't have any further information as far as his status. But again, let's pray for this community as a whole. This is traumatic for everyone, of every Houstonian, and these types of incidents are, unfortunately, something that we deal more often than we need to with. So look, we're going to remain on scene. I'm going to pass this on now to.
Before I get it, before I bring it up,
yeah.
Really quickly, this is a light, an isolated incident, we believe at this moment. Okay, no further danger to our public, but we do want to conduct a methodical search of the building to make sure that nobody's in there, nobody else is in there hurt. So that will continue. We ask that the public stay away from the area and let us do our job on that. The reunification location for our parents or our family members is the Lifetime Fitness Center here. And if you come up, we'll direct you. Try to stay on the east side of the building, not on the west side of the building, and we'll get you and reunited with your family members. Okay, Pastor.
First off, thank Chief and the Mayor and Chief Pena and all of these men and women did an amazing job, and it's just, you said it, Chief, it could have been a lot worse. Of course, we're devastated. I mean, we've been here 65 years and have somebody shooting in your church, but you know, we don't understand why all these things happen, but we know God's in control, and we're going to pray for that little 5-year-old boy and pray for the lady that was deceased, her family and all, and the other gentleman. But I don't know, it's just kind of in a fog, but you know, just believe that, you know, we're going to stay strong. We're going to continue to move forward. And there are forces of evil, but the forces that are for us, the forces of God, are stronger than that. So we're going to keep going strong and just, you know, doing what God's called us to do, lift people up and give hope to the world. Again, I want to thank all these gentlemen, because, you know, I can only imagine if it would have happened during the 11 o'clock service. We were in between services going into the Spanish service, so, you know, if there's anything good of it, you know what, she didn't get in there and do a whole lot worse damage. So we thank God for that He's watching over all of us, and as the Chief says, we're going to keep going strong and bringing hope to the world. But thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm going to get Chief Gun 2 for translation in Spanish. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Recibimos la llamada a las 1:53. Los oficiales respondieron en 3 minutos aquí. Lo que pasó es la señora entró en la iglesia aquí en enfrente, dejó el coche afuera, entró con un niño de 5 años, que parece con 5 años. A la entrada, ella tenía puesta un abrigo largo, tenía una escopeta y comenzó a disparar en la entrada. Así en la entrada, los oficiales que estaban trabajando un trabajo extra estaban aquí. Es un agente del TABC que tiene 38 años en el departamento, 38 años y 4 años por el departamento, y uno nuestro de HPD oficial comenzó a disparar. Él solamente tiene 2 años en el departamento. Comenzó a disparar, dispararon. La señora, los oficiales le dieron un balazo al caer. Ella mencionó algo de una bomba. Entonces aquí tenemos los expertos de las bombas, los técnicos. Aquí están asegurando que todo está bien, que no hay ningún explosivo. Al final la señora murió. Un hombre de 57 años recibió un balazo a la pierna, y el niño que trajo la señora también tiene un balazo y él está en condición crítica. Estamos rezando por el niño. La señora también tenía una mochila y todos se están esculcando. En este momento estamos seguros, bueno, más o menos seguros, que todo está bien, pero todavía estamos en la iglesia esculcando para otras posibilidades de otros heridos o otras personas que tienen más información. Por este momento nosotros estamos asegurando que casi todos ya salieron y los tenemos aquí cerquita del Lifetime Fitness. en caso alguien quiere a levantar las personas. Este ya no es un balaceo activa, tenemos todo en control. Todavía estamos asegurando que todo está seguro. Vamos a estar aquí entre toda más o menos de la noche. Estamos orando para todas las familias que están aquí. Esto lo que pasó es muy difícil para nosotros y para todos. Esto pasó en una iglesia, uno donde viene a tranquilizar, a orar para Dios, y vamos a continuar a eso. Vamos a asegurar que todos van a continuar a venir a la iglesia, y porque todo lo que pasó, los oficiales hicieron un trabajo excelente en esa cosa. Podía ser peor, pero los oficiales que estaban aquí hicieron todo lo que hicieron, y la señora ya no está. Entonces es todo lo que tengo.
Thank you very much, Ma'am. I want to emphasize that we appreciate our first responders. I want to emphasize what the chief said, that our places of worship will be safe in the city of Houston, regardless of your faith. And I think it's important to emphasize, at this time, it appears to be a lone actor, but due diligence is being taken by all the first responders from all the multiple agencies. So at this time, I'll yield to questions to the chiefs.
No, it's preliminary investigation, and I don't want to speculate on anything. You can see our federal partners are here, our local partners, our state partners, everybody, and we're going to leave no stone unturned, but we're just at the beginning. It's still an active scene, so I don't want to talk about her motivations because I don't know, right, and we may never know the full story. But the important message is we're going to stand together as a city. We're going to stand with this church today and the pastor to make sure that healing begins immediately. But I don't want to speculate on anything else. Next question. Go ahead in the middle here.
Quick question. Is it the belief that those officers that opened fire, did they strike the child?
I have no idea right now. She fired. We don't know. And I don't want to speculate on that. But I will say this. If it was, unfortunately, and that female, that suspect, put that baby in danger, I'm going to put that blame on her. Okay? Next question. Go ahead. A little bit louder. We do believe that. We believe that to be correct.
And the shooting, the compact center sports windows, my understanding was like in the concession area and the round. Was it in the sanctuary?
I'm not sure. It's just over here on the west side here, just behind us. Okay. We'll get those details to you a little bit later. Go ahead, sir.
Can you say how many shots did the suspect?
I have no idea. Multiple shots. Go ahead.
Was there any explosive device or anything nefarious found?
Nothing found. We're still searching the entire grounds, okay? And if it is, we'll report back to you on that. Next question. Go ahead.
Did you find an ID on the woman and what she's from?
I'm not sure, sir. If we found an idea right now, if we did, we'll share that with you. But you know what we're up against today on this day, and I think it's very important for us to get before the cameras as quickly as we can, not competing with the Super Bowl and everything else. Let our citizens know that everything is good here, we're standing together, and we're moving forward. Go ahead. He's not. I'm sorry. Let me ask y'all one thing. I forgot to hold up. Hear me out. I forgot to say the pastor is not going to go with any more questions or anything today. It'll be a time a little bit later. So I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. I forgot to say that. Go ahead. Within minutes, sir. Within minutes, a lot of officers responded.
She was actually aiming at anybody specific.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I want to speak to
Any witnesses? There's so many. Thousands of people.
Yeah, that's part of the investigation, and we're going to talk to those witnesses. Some are still here, thank God, and they stayed back. So that's part of the investigation. One more with you, and then I'm going to get over here. All right?
The child that was with this female, is it believed that they are related like a daughter?
I don't want to speculate. I don't know. The only thing that we know that they arrived here together. Okay? Next question.
Do we know if the suspect arrived in a vehicle?
Yes, a white vehicle. Thanks for I failed to say that. A white vehicle. Yeah.
Can you give any more descriptors on that vehicle?
Not right now. It's just a white vehicle, and we did search that vehicle to make sure there were no explosive or anything found in it. Go ahead.
Is there an ID for what was sprayed on the ground?
We don't know yet. The fire department, as the Chief Pena said, they're still evaluating that. All right, a few more questions. Go ahead.
If the child was the woman's, if the boy was the woman's child, what's the relation between the two of them?
I don't know. I don't know. All right. Let me get somebody that asks me a question. Go ahead, and then I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
What's the next? Do you know how long?
Speak up a little bit.
Do you know how long you're going to close the church for now? What's the next service?
Until we get through, the pastor and his staff will make that decision, but it's going to be closed for now. I think that was the last service for today anyway, okay? Who's next? Who hadn't asked me a question?
I'm just wondering, that other gentleman was hurt.
Go ahead.
Was he just a parishioner, happened to be walking by?
I think so. I think so. That's what we believe at this time. It's shot in the leg, okay? In stable condition. Go ahead.
An officer I spoke with earlier today said you're still searching for another male suspect. Is that not the case?
I don't think so. We believe her to be the lone suspect. If you can believe, with thousands of people in the church, when shots are fired, people run from that area. Some people may say he was a suspect, some not, but we don't believe that at this time, okay? But anybody that ran away or seen anything, we're going to ask that they call HPD Homicide, 713-308-3600. Even if you left the scene, we need to get a full statement of what you witnessed, okay?
Chief, were those officers wearing body cams at the time?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Chief, you said that after she was shot, the suspect said that she had a bomb. And did she say that spontaneously, or was she being questioned by officers?
I'm not sure. I didn't talk to her. That's just what's told to me, and we'll gather more information. We're gonna do 2 more questions, okay? Somebody who hadn't asked me anything. We good? Go ahead.
There's a female that's a suspect right now, and she's under investigation, or is she no longer with us?
She's deceased. Yes, ma'am. Thanks for asking. Go ahead. Last one.
Is that vehicle still here on scene?
Yes, it's still being processed, okay? It's part of the scene, and it takes hours before we clear the scene.
I assume you'll have video, security camera video, you guys are reviewing things?
We'll see. We'll see. We're very transparent here in the police department, HPD. So if we have footage at the right time, appropriate time, and if there's body-worn camera, the officers will work an extra job. I don't know the policy for the federal agency, but we'll check with our officers, see if he had it. Okay. Hey, thank y'all. Let's continue to pray for everybody. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, we finally heard from HPD Chief Troy Finner, along with the fire chief and even Pastor Joel Osteen of Lakewood Church. Let's break it down, and here's the information that the chief told us. At approximately 1:53 this afternoon, a woman between the age of 30 and 35 entered the church on the west side. She was carrying a long rifle. She was wearing a trench coat and a backpack, and with her was a small 5-year-old boy. Off-duty officers confronted the woman when she walked in, shot her. She's dead. The 5-year-old was hit, that child now at Texas Children's, in critical condition. We also know that the woman claimed to have a bomb, so they checked her car, they checked the sanctuary, the church, the backpack, found nothing. And one other person was hit, 57 or 56-year-old man in the leg, presumably a parishioner. He appears to be okay.
The officers who engaged the suspect were a TABC agent, that would be a federal agent, and also an HPD officer. Now, after the shooting occurred, you heard Lynn mention that she threatened she had a bomb. She was on the ground at that point. She also said she sprayed a substance on the ground, but we do know from HFD Fire Chief Pena that there has been nothing there on the grounds of the church that they have found to be dangerous for anyone in the immediate area as well. HFD is doing what they call now consequence management. That means hazmat teams working alongside the bomb squad. Again, they have not found anything of concern to the community or the Lakewood facility. Their recon and rescue team will remain on the scene as well. Now, this is believed to be an isolated incident, but that methodical search will continue, says Chief Finner. Now, we also heard from Pastor Osteen, a very shaken Pastor Osteen. He mentioned how they've been at the church for 65 years now, and they don't know why these things happen, but leaning into his faith and saying God has control, that they're even, in fact, going to pray for not just the 5-year-old boy, the man injured, but also the shooter.
That was Pastor Joel Osteen. Now, the question arises, of course, is who was this woman? Reporters on the scene asked if there was an ID on the woman who's now deceased, the shooter. They said that they had not found one or weren't going to talk about it right now. If we know who she is, was she a member of the church? What was the motive for going in? Also, there was some talk early on in our reporting that there may have been a second shooter. That turns out not to have been the case, at least according to Chief Troy Finner, that she was a lone gunman, a lone wolf. It is astounding that when you have a church that size with so many people that you wind up, unfortunately, one person has died, the gunman, and then a child was hit, hopefully will survive. One other person shot will be okay. It could have been so much worse. Tragic as it stands on its face, but could have been so much worse.
Yes, in fact, Pastor Osteen echoing that same sentiment as well. Let's check back in now with Anayeli Ruiz, who is outside Lakewood Church. Anayeli.
Guys, we're right in a little plaza where a lot of family members are still kind of lingering around. They're trying to actually get to their vehicles, and some of them actually have been reunited with their teens who were still in the other floors above. But as you can see, a lot of these people are telling me that right now they are trying to get to their cars that are underneath this, but they're being told to hold off because authorities are actually making a sweep of that parking garage that's right there. But you can see, like I said, a lot of families are out here just hanging out with their kiddos. A sense of relief you feel and you see from a lot of them who are telling me that they're happy that they're out, they're happy that they're with their kiddos again. And we also did see a lot of the little kiddos do have little stickers given to them by officers, I'm sure trying to comfort the kiddos as they're dealing with such a traumatic experience right now. But again, a lot of these families are just trying to get their vehicles, trying to get reunited with their kiddos again, and trying to go home for the day. But as you can see, authorities are not really allowing them, and so a lot of people are leaving for the day. No los están dejando sacar los vehículos, ¿verdad? No pueden sacar los vehículos ahorita. Okay, entonces siguen esperando. ¿Se van a ir ustedes?
Unas amistades nos vienen a buscar porque todas nuestras pertenencias quedaron dentro.
Oh, okay.
Entonces.
Okay.
Sí.
Pero está todo seguro.
Pero gracias a Dios está todo seguro.
Okay. Gracias. And I asked him, if they were allowed to get their vehicle. He said no. A friend is actually going to come pick them up. He said all of their belongings are still inside the building, so they're just going to take off and wait. Hopefully, the authorities will put out some kind of a mass alert, either on social media, to let them know when they can come back and pick up their vehicles. But as you can see, a lot of them are standing around here waiting for an Uber, trying to wait for somebody to pick them up and just kind of get out of the area as they can hopefully go back home and just breathe after such an intense moment. But of course, as soon as we have anything new, we'll bring it to you guys. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Anayeli, I'm amazed because we've been talking to you, to Matt, to Jason, and everybody that you have talked to, and you ask, will you return to Lakewood? Unequivocally, everybody says, absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Their faith is very strong, even though this was such a traumatic and terrible experience for a lot of them, especially a lot of the families who were split up from their kiddos, not knowing if they were okay, not knowing if something had happened to them. And just to hear their faith, it's just really amazing. It's kind of touching. Like I said, I had spoke to a father who, in tears, was holding his baby, and the mom was so emotional. She couldn't talk on camera because she was just weeping, but she was just so happy to have their infant son, who they've been separated for hours, not knowing if their infant son was okay. And they said it was really hard because they have other kids and they knew that those kids were okay, but they had heard nothing about that infant baby boy. But again, a lot of these families just kind of like feeling a sense of relief that they can finally leave and trying to go. But they do tell me that they're going to come back, that their faith in God is really strong and that this is not going to change how they feel about the church.
If ever they needed to lean on their faith, today is the day. Anayeli Ruiz outside Lakewood Church right now. Thank you so much. It has been quite the disturbing day at Lakewood Church, a church of 65 years now, Joel Osteen tells us. They are now dealing with a deadly shooting that happened inside the church today, just shortly before 2 o'clock this afternoon, when a woman entered the church, 30 to 35 years old, with a child who accompanied her and engaged with officers. She was taken down by those officers. The child injured, and a 57-year-old man also shot and injured during this exchange.
We will continue to follow this story on KHOU.com. Of course, the Super Bowl on KHOU coming up at 5:30, and all the details on what happened at Lakewood Church tonight on KHOU 11 News at 10. We thank you for joining us. Be safe. Take care.